Okay, so in order then to day 4, does your personal succession plan or goal relate to where the church, our church, the Reformed church, the whole church, does it relate to where the church is in the cycle of, and I couldn't remember these, but garden, prison, exile,
Oh,
etc.?
yeah, those, yeah.
So I'm just gonna go through these questions, and
Yeah.
if you think of an answer, maybe write
I'll
it down.
just,
and we'll-
I'll keep silent, that's a good question.
Okay, so then today 1, okay, I didn't do 1 to me, although I should have, but I didn't do 1 to me. So we'll skip me there.
Something, something, fatherhood, something.
Yep. Today 5, to Hannah.
Everyone's getting tired, huh?
I'm waiting for Eric myself.
Okay. Yes, all right, Hannah. Today 5, coming from the question of what time is it in the church, is it time to start over with church music, or should we polish what we've got?
You can't start over. Is it time to start over with the church, or should we just polish what we've got?
Well,
Well, they've got
I
on
asked you
destroying
first.
buildings and starting a new building.
But, isn't the after Christ, are things still going to be destroyed, or are things, we're post-millennial here, so, I mean, aren't
Well-
things supposed to get better?
but often they get worse so that they can get better. Often there is a death before a resurrection.
Well, I think there has been a death in church music. I mean, if you look at this century, there's not a whole lot there.
Okay, so, all right, let me, and I think what I'm trying to express is, then do you go back and say, well, there's a particular period in church history where the music, now that was really good, that's what we should be doing. And that's what I'm saying, is polishing what we've got. Going back and finding something and saying, that's really what we wanted, and why did we ever get away from that? Or do we say, that was interesting, it was really good, but this is what we need to do now?
Maybe there needs to be 2 things going on. I mean, you need to go back to where it was good, and you can't stay there. You need to grow from there, and you can. I mean,
Okay, let me ask you 2 more questions. How
okay.
does bluegrass
He
and
can ask me the questions that you want.
how does bluegrass and Irish music relate to this? We've talked about the fact that Irish music is there's this folk music, but they do new stuff, and it's
You sing about Facebook and
yeah, and it doesn't seem silly. It seems like they're
It's
still
growing.
it's growing.
right, and they didn't have that until they went back, and you have to have like the Clancy brothers who were just singing this old stuff that makes you go, but they had to go back. And you know, when Irish music got revived in the 60s and 70s, they didn't.
And I'm going to ask you to comment here in a minute, Tiffany.
They didn't just say, "Hey, I wonder what this instrument does." You know, they went back to their roots, and they found they sang the old songs, and they did the stuff that people liked, and they grew from there.
Okay.
And so we got to go back to the good stuff and grow from there and incorporate. And you can't. I think there's a danger. There's a pit that people fall into. They think that they can go back and pretend we're living in Geneva and we can sing all those Genevan songs like Genevans, and we aren't, and we can't, and we have to sing them like 21st century Christians,
Okay.
and we have to put the new in because the church hasn't stopped growing and changing, and the music. I mean, the church is weak in some places, and the music is weak wherever the church is weak. But we can't just pretend that we can go back in time.
Okay.
What it was like he was saying earlier.
Mhm.
You know, so.
Okay. Thank you. Let's see. So where am I? That
You're
was
gonna ask Tiffany something.
right. Okay. Well, I was going to ask you to comment on that same question.
About
growing.
About growing church, about, do you go back and polish what was old, or do you just start over, or is there something?
I think it's a combination of both. I think that we've been to churches before where they kind of say, well, a church, where they kind of said, if it's tradition, we're not doing it.
Mhm.
Because tradition is bad. And they just kind of toss out the window anything that's tradition. Well, then you get all these really, truly weird things. Like, they had this class that was traditional Jewish, they played traditional Jewish music in the Sunday school class. And they had people dance to the music. And then, after the people danced, they interpreted their dance to tell them what they prophesied. And it was truly weird.
Okay.
But then you have churches that are so based on tradition that they're not willing to look at any possible changes that could be good.
That's like the people that say you can only listen to like the Dubliners and the Clancy brothers because if you listen to the new people, you just don't understand it.
Okay.
Okay.
And
Thank
so
you.
you can't just go back to the Genevan jigs and only sing those and,
Jeeves.
no, those are jigs.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay, so that
Can't
was,
say Genevan.
that was to Hannah, that was to day 5. So to day 2, which is Dora, are there any problems with being young in the church since you can't read and keep up yet? And I would like to hear the answer to that one.
One
Today's,
answer to that is lining out, like Eric does with his
Mhm.
kids, or his
Mhm.
kids. In other words, that's where Deacon Gonzalez will stand up and take the exact words of the Psalms and sing them in some kind of a, like routine kind of a thing. And then we don't even have to be able to read, we just repeat back what he says.
and it has come up as a discussion when, in our church, when we want to lead people to all this cool stuff that we think we have. But if we have people who are so caught in webs of various things, and they're caught in immaturity and sin, and they need, and so if they are childlike in terms of maturity, maybe the same thing applies. Maybe Dora, the question to Dora is helpful for us to think about how to reach the
And this would be
community.
good if I were to go to a church where they were having a service in Spanish, let's say. I could participate somehow. This is good for older people who can't quite, you know, they have trifocals or something trying to read the hymn books. Also, when you got something lined out, you can look at the other people at the same time instead of looking at the book. Plus, one of the real advantages of traditional liturgies over and over again is you memorize them. Jeff Myers has the 1941 hymn service of the Missouri Synod all memorized.
Mhm.
Because